Before sunrise, federal agents launched Operation Midway Blitz across Chicago, Cicero, and Joliet, targeting cartel networks exploiting illegal migration. Over 550 arrests were made, and tons of narcotics and firearms were seized, including meth businesses with encrypted communications, shell companies, and human couriers. Authorities confirmed amphetamine, cocaine, and AR-15s. The raids exposed a sophisticated CJNG infrastructure hiding among homes, and the network spanned multiple states. The operation aimed to restore public safety, dismantle criminal logistics, and secure Chicago's streets from cartel influence. The early hours of Chicago were thick with fog, streets unnervingly quiet, smuggling across the Midwest. The operation spanned multiple neighborhoods, including Little Village, Cicero, and Joliet, cities that had quietly endured surges of violence and organized crime linked to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG. Convoys of armored vehicles rolled down wet asphalt streets, their engines growling like predators in the fog. ICE tactical teams, supported by Chicago Police SWAT, Homeland Security, DEA Special Operations, and FBI hostage rescue units, formed tight formations along alleys and driveways. Helicopters circled above, their infrared lenses casting ghostly red outlines across rooftops, scanning for hidden movement. Every detail of the operation had been mapped in advance, from the position of barricades to the exact moment flashbangs would detonate. At the first target, a two-story house in Little Village, agents stacked against the steel front door, waiting. Boom! A flashbang tore through the silence, a blinding light followed by an ear-shattering concussion. Agents stormed inside, chemical fumes lingering from barrels marked Producto de Mexico, leaking fluorescent liquid across the concrete floor. CJNG gunmen, lightning striking a building. Yet the teams were prepared, moving with precision, neutralizing threats in less than a minute. 3 gunmen were incapacitated, and 2 more were handcuffed alive, their network connections immediately beginning to unravel. Across the city, identical strikes were executed simultaneously. In Cicero, a warehouse disguised as an agricultural distributor concealed 200 pounds of cocaine and 90 pounds of fentanyl, meticulously packed and labeled for shipment. Agents moved room by room, discovering encrypted tablets, fake passports, cash caches, and hidden tunnels leading to vehicles modified for long-distance smuggling. At the Midway rail yards, another team uncovered a fortified chamber where firearms, bulletproof vests, and encrypted radios awaited distribution. Each location exposed another node of a sprawling criminal enterprise embedded within Chicago's streets. By the end of the initial raid, the results were staggering. Over 550 arrests, including cartel couriers, facilitators, and individuals who had embedded themselves into legitimate businesses. Authorities seized 4.3 tons of narcotics, including methamphetamine, cocaine, and disguised as candy or prescription pills. Firearms, including grenade launchers and illegally modified assault rifles, were recovered. Financial investigators traced millions of transactions funneled through shell companies, auto shops, and laundromats, all designed to blend seamlessly into the city's economy. The operation revealed an unsettling truth. The CJNG network had weaponized migration. Families crossing the border in search of a better life were unwittingly exploited as couriers and structures. The cartel had learned to hide in plain sight, and it required precision, interagency coordination, and relentless intelligence gathering to confront it. Inside the IC command center near Midway Airport, analysts, cyber investigators, and tactical coordinators worked in synchronized precision. Digital maps displayed red markers for every known CJNG stronghold, safe house, or warehouse. Each day, encrypted messages traced from Mexico, Texas, and the Midwest were decrypted, revealing shipment schedules, financial. One particularly chilling discovery was a set of safe houses where walls had been reinforced with steel and concrete, creating small bunkers designed to resist entry. Surveillance drones detected heat signatures indicating hidden compartments and secret entrances. In one case, a vehicle parked near Joliet had false cargo panels filled with weapons and pill presses. The driver, a 19-year-old migrant, had no idea what he was transporting, illustrating how the cartel exploited desperation to strengthen their network while keeping operations invisible. As the raids progressed, the tactical teams uncovered a financial web supporting the network. Shell companies disguised as auto shops, logistics depots, and even small charitable organizations funneled proceeds from narcotics sales into legitimate banking channels. Analysts traced over $12 million in assets frozen across 7 states. One nonprofit, claiming to assist local youth, had processed $11.3 million in donations, entirely falsified and funneled contractors. It became clear that the network had meticulously interwoven itself into everyday life, making detection extraordinarily difficult without coordinated federal intervention. By the end of the first week, 98 suspects were in custody, including confirmed, to defend the premises at any cost. Bullets ricocheted off walls, splintered marble, and shattered glass as agents returned fire, advancing in tight formations with shields raised and flashbangs deployed to disorient and neutralize threats. The firefight lasted for tense minutes that felt like hours. Every corridor, every room, every stairwell was cleared methodically. Once the immediate threat was neutralized, the operation shifted focus to uncovering the hidden layers of the criminal network embedded within the compound. In the basement, investigators encountered rows of medical coolers, each meticulously labeled, containing preserved human organs prepared for trafficking. Adjacent rooms revealed industrial narcotics processing equipment, chemical drums, high-capacity presses, and ventilation systems cleverly disguised as maintenance conduits. Pallets of fentanyl, methamphetamine, and heroin were discovered, stacked in quantities sufficient to supply multiple states for months, potentially causing thousands of overdoses if left unseized. Hidden behind a false wall, agents discovered $67 million in bundled cash, neatly stacked, evidence of extensive laundering operations linked to offshore accounts. Ambassador Vega himself was apprehended attempting to flee through a service corridor. His diplomatic immunity had been nullified. No flag, no treaty, no international protocol could shield him from the consequences of his actions. Law enforcement history. Simultaneously, coordinated raids struck safe houses, warehouses, and financial fronts across Texas, seizing vehicles, freezing bank accounts, and detaining key associates of the network. Within hours, a sprawling criminal infrastructure that had operated with impunity collapsed entirely. Yet even as arrests were made and evidence secured, investigators turned their attention to the broader, human dimension of the network's operations. Medical examiner records, once accepted at face value, were revisited. Deaths previously classified as natural causes or unexplained incidents were now linked directly to trafficking, wire routes, and the illicit operations of the network. Missing persons reports matched shipment manifests, revealing patterns of exploitation, trafficking, and in some cases, organized murder. Families across Texas had lived for years in quiet anguish, unaware that the unexplained disappearances and sudden deaths were symptomatic of a sprawling criminal enterprise. Border towns that had reported rising disappearances, sometimes attributed to migration or chance, were now understood as nodes in an extensive human trafficking network. Suburban hospitals had quietly documented surges in overdoses, particularly fentanyl, that far exceeded prior trends. Schools reported increasingly potent narcotics circulating among students. Every incident, once considered isolated or coincidental, was now clearly part of a deliberately engineered supply chain emanating from diplomatic channels. Internal reviews exposed systemic failures within federal and local institutions. Multiple warnings had been filed. Reports had been made. Yet agencies operated in isolation, seeing fragments of the truth but never the full picture. A culture of misplaced trust had replaced scrutiny. Senior officials had deferred to reputation, believing that titles such as former CIA director or foreign ambassador guaranteed integrity. Local officers, constrained by protocol or fear of political repercussion, dismissed red flags. The result? A network thriving in plain sight, shielded not only by law but by complacency. Protocols were overhauled in response. Diplomatic shipments now undergo rigorous weight audits, ensuring that cargo matches declared contents, even when labeled under official cover. Interagency data sharing has been completely restructured, creating centralized databases capable of identifying anomalies across intelligence, customs, and law enforcement channels. Medical examiners received new guidelines to identify deaths potentially linked to trafficking and chemical exposure. Community reporting channels were expanded, ensuring that tips from residents could no longer be ignored or siloed. Evan Marshall's actions, once dismissed and tragically penalized by his untimely death, were recognized as the catalyst that exposed this criminal enterprise. His diligence, attention to detail, and commitment to ethical duty initiated a chain reaction that ultimately dismantled a sophisticated operation that had poisoned communities for nearly a decade. Although the cost was devastating, the exposure of this network demonstrated the power of accountability, vigilance, and persistent investigative work. The implications of this operation extend far beyond Texas. The operation set a precedent. No individual, no matter their office or international standing, is above the law. Diplomatic privilege, once considered inviolable, cannot be abused to shield organized crime. The operation demonstrated that power without oversight is not merely dangerous. It is destructive, capable of infiltrating institutions, corrupting officials, and endangering citizens. Moreover, the investigation revealed that the greatest threats do not always arrive at national borders. Sometimes they emerge quietly, hidden within the very institutions entrusted to uphold safety and justice. Intelligence, diplomacy, and law enforcement, when compromised, can provide cover for criminal enterprises operating at global scale. The Vega Reeves network exploited these vulnerabilities, demonstrating how expertise, authority, and trust can be weaponized to perpetrate atrocities without immediate detection. This historic operation also underscored the need for institutional resilience. Accountability measures, transparency, interagency cooperation, and community engagement that are essential to preventing similar threats. Comprehensive audits, continuous oversight, and the integration of citizen reports with federal intelligence channels are now recognized as indispensable safeguards against corruption and exploitation. It is a recognition that institutional vigilance must be active, not passive, that systemic integrity requires constant attention, not periodic review. The human impact of this network, previously obscured by layers of secrecy and corruption, is now being documented. Families affected by disappearances, overdoses, and organized exploitation are receiving long overdue attention. Communities are beginning the slow process of recovery, aware that the invisible machinery of exploitation once operated within their neighborhoods. Mental health resources, community policing programs, and federal victim support initiatives have been expanded to address both the immediate and residual effects of the criminal operation. Evan Marshall's legacy serves as a reminder that individual courage matters. One person's attention to detail, commitment to ethics, and willingness to challenge authority can catalyze systemic change, even in the face of overwhelming institutional inertia. His actions not only exposed a vast criminal network, but initiated reforms that will strengthen the nation's ability to detect and dismantle similar threats in the future. The operation against Ambassador Vega and Jonathan P. Reeves conveys a powerful lesson. Governance and oversight cannot be symbolic. Titles and positions do not guarantee morality or accountability. Legal and institutional frameworks must remain dynamic, capable of responding to novel threats that exploit gaps in oversight and enforcement. When individuals operate above scrutiny, communities suffer. When transparency is enforced and accountability is real, justice prevails. Finally, this operation demonstrates that vigilance is a collective responsibility. Citizens, federal agents, local law enforcement, and international partners must remain aware, engaged, and prepared to act when anomalies arise.